We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello and welcome to IBD Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey, and I speak from the role of a patient, and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm your other host, Michelle Harvey. I'm Mason's mom, and I speak from the role of a caregiver. In today's episode, we're going to revisit a topic. We had told you we would come back to this, and we are finally here to talk about 504 plans again. Mm-hmm. And the last time we talked about them, it was pertaining to like K through 12. So those grades.
But now it's for college.
Yeah. So I think a lot of you, college is on the mind right now. When we're recording this, a lot of people are graduating or they're going into their senior years and they are making decisions about what they're going to do for college. And so actually we have a fun announcement about Mason. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows yet. I mean, well, except for like my parents and a few very close friends. What Mason is going to be doing is in a few weeks, you are starting
in college.
Yeah. So
like, yay. I don't know.
It's a mix, right? Mm-hmm. Of feelings. Because I mean, it's inevitable that you're going to eventually graduate from high school and have to make decisions about your career. And maybe it'll be a trade school. Maybe it'll be a college. Maybe something else. And any of that is fine. So for us, we'll be happy for Mason if he's happy. That's what it's all about. If he started taking these courses at college, he will get credit for them through his current high school. He is homeschooled, but he'll get credit and it is at a much lower cost. So it's just about free since he's in school. And so he's not going to be taking the classes at high school. He's going to actually be taking them at the college. So yeah, so we got to experience what it was like to try and set up something similar to a 504 plan for college and thought good time to talk to all of you about that. So we'll go more into that later. So we'll talk about our experience and how it wraps up with this. We went to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation website.
They have all the stuff we're talking about today.
Yes, they do. And so this is really like I researched all this. I looked into it even before we did this for Mason. And really the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has one of the best sites for
them. If you want to know anything about Crohn's and colitis, you can go to that foundation and they'll tell you everything about it.
It's got everything. And this is one of the reasons why we are so passionate about raising funds. Mason's wearing his Take Steps shirt today. We're going to be doing that next week. Yay. So we'll be finally getting to walk with everybody. And it's just so important because they do so much. And there's so many things that people don't realize. And it's like, if you go on there and look for this, you're going to find every single thing you need. And so we're kind of here to point you to that website and go over it and talk about our experience in all of this too. So let's jump into it. And I think, so for some of you, you're already going to be past this. So you can probably kind of speed through this part if you don't want to hear about it.
Skip over it maybe.
Yeah, but this is for those of you still choosing a college. And some of you right now at this point, you've already chosen, and so you'll want to listen a little bit further into the podcast. But right now we're going to talk about choosing a college. Would you have thought about what would be best for your academics, what you want to do in life, but also for your
future,
your medical conditions? Is that something that you think you would have put a lot of thought into?
Definitely.
Yeah, it is, because that's part of your life. You
can't escape it.
No. And some of you out there are able to pick a college just based on whatever you want to choose. But a lot of these kids, teens. One of the things to do is to make sure that you have really thought about your choices for college and as it pertains to Crohn's disease, and not letting it hold you back, but making sure that your experience is a good one and that you are getting the best college experience you can
get. Yeah.
So let's see. So these are just some of the ideas that the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation provided, but these are always suggestions too. So this isn't like something you have to follow, because some of you out there are like, oh, we didn't do any of those and my child still had a great experience, so these are all suggestions. These are all things just to help you, maybe make your life easier or give you some guidance if you're out there listening and you're getting to this point, you're in high school now.
Out.
Yeah, I mean, you can start thinking about this, middle school, but I think high school starts to get more realistic and maybe start thinking about where you want to go. So, one of the first things is, are you going to stay local or are you going to go to another city or state? And I think like for you, you
Local.
preferred
If it's
and
local, I don't have to, I can stay at home,
right.
It's less expensive.
Yeah, so that really does help. And for Mason, all of your doctors, your medical team will be here. Everything that you are
You can't
used
leave the
to.
hospital.
Yeah, unless you switch everything. And then you have to, so anyways, we'll go more into that. So those are just some considerations, and if you're going to be going out of state, are you staying in a dorm or, going to be in an apartment? What is the situation going to be? Roommates, all of that. And one of the questions they asked, which was the first one, which I really liked, is where will you be happy?
Yes.
And I think that's super important. Like in all of these things we're going to talk about, where will you be happy? Staying home and going to a community college, going to, we're not really talking about other trade schools or anything like that right now. But again, we're advocates for all of
Yes.
that.
I have to go to college, but I don't want to like live there,
Right.
I want to
So,
I want to be able to stay at my home.
right. So that's something that would
I
make
don't want to
you
go to
happy,
dorms.
keep you relaxed, anxiety free. And that's
Whatever
your
makes you less
decision.
stressed.
Right. And it's very personal. And some other kids, they have been looking forward to going to an out of state college, who knows for how long. So that's one thing to consider. And then the next thing are food options and things like, again, if you're staying at home, you're going to already know these options. But if you're not, there's things to consider like meal plans, food services, dining hall options. Are there special options for if you have dietary needs?
Yeah, if you have Crohn's and there's something you can't eat, but they don't have like something special to
Right.
not serve that. Or if you just have like a gluten allergy or dairy allergy or something like
right.
that.
Do they have those options?
Yeah.
It's good to know. And then housing. Will you be having, do they have the option to have a private bathroom or a private bedroom? So are you going to be having to share a bathroom with multiple
This is
people?
not good with Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
Especially in a flare.
Right. So these are things to think about. And then your medical care, kind of like what we were just talking about with Mason. If you are going to be leaving and you're not staying with your medical team, and if you're leaving the state, leaving the city, so you're going to want to do like your research. And so you're going to have to look for a whole new medical team wherever you're going. Research the GIs, extremely important. Make sure you find an IBD specialist. And also their hours. What days do they work? What hours, what is that like? You're going to look for other specialists. You have to have those lined up. Hospitals, clinics in the area. You're going to want to see how those are rated. Where, what is this? If you require monthly tests or treatments, you have to make sure there's a facility near the college. And also that all of this is covered by your insurance. So you may, you want to make sure that everyone you find for your medical team, now you got to make sure your insurance will cover those doctors too.
Hopefully
Yes, so very important. I mean, for me personally, I think that it would be extremely important for me as a parent and a caregiver for my son is to make sure he would have adequate care and someone who listen to him if he is having some kind of troubles. And especially if we're not there to help, what's that system look like for him?
And share a bathroom anyways.
Yeah, I know he's still thinking about the sharing the bathroom. That'd be a nightmare. Oh, no. But that's how it is for a lot of these teens in college. But when you have Crohn's, that turns into kind of a nightmare situation. And for everybody else who's like,
well, if you have Crohn's, it might not be a nightmare situation unless you're in a flare.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not good.
Right.
Or you eat something that doesn't really agree with you.
Yeah. Anyways, we won't go into
fun topic.
Yeah, but private bathroom would be awesome. Yes. If you could get one. Another question they asked was, will medication be able to be mailed to your dorm? So you got to make sure like Mason receives his injections, UPS delivers those to us. So you just have to make sure everything that you are ordering, all your medications, are they going to be mailed to your dorm? Do you go pick them up at a pharmacy? Are there pharmacies nearby? I mean, for us, I don't think of these questions a lot because where we live, everything is here. Yeah. It's like, well, of course, there's going to be a pharmacy nearby. Of course, but there are some places that are different. And, so these are logical things to think about. And also, can you get medical infusions nearby or even at your campus
Yeah.
medical clinic? Do they have that available? Something to look into. So
maybe like the school nurse or something.
mhm.
These school doctors.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to have like some trained
Yeah, IB
like
professionals.
yeah there. So or just infusion nurses that would know. But like for you, I think one of the difficult things, and I don't know out there, if you're listening and you know the answer to this, I haven't actually looked this up, but I know when we get your Entyvio, we have to wait a while for it to be mixed. It's not like the Entyvio is ready, like in a bag, ready to go. So that takes like
You have to make it wet, fresh.
they do, and they have to mix it, shake it. There's a certain process that's why sometimes for some of you it's like, why does it take so long to get the Entyvio?
Yeah, because when I was on Remicade, it would take 4 hours to get the infusion, and it was you get Entyvio and like it's a 30-minute infusion, and then you're there for like 2 hours because they have to make it, then they have to ship it to
they have
where you are.
Right. And so we have at our hospital there is a pharmacy. So they the nurses, whoever it is delivers it. Someone they have a runner who runs and gets it and brings it over. So
then you have to get the infusion after you wait.
Yeah. So I think that if there was a campus medical clinic, there may be certain limitations on certain infusions. So anyways, that's a good thing to think about. And time management, you're going to have to start balancing classes, homework, and there's going to be activities that are, social lives. You will need times to rest. And so there's that whole new thing is you're not going to have like your mom or your dad, like you're going to have to be responsible for that time management. And so, see what the support system looks like at the college. And that kind of leads into, this is something that is, I think, one of the most important aspects is, are there disability support services? And we're going to go into that now more because this is kind of the detailed part where
probably one of the most important.
Yes. So now we're going to go to like where we're going to say you have chosen your college. And now assuming that they do have disability support services, you did check into that, they have it. If you haven't done that yet, and if your teen is enrolled in college, make sure you look into this now.
They have a disability support.
Right. And start doing this now. It's important.
Yes.
According to Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, public government-funded institutions such as state and regional colleges and vocational programs are required to make reasonable modifications and adaptations for students with disabilities that significantly impact their education, learning,
physical ability to participate in programs.
Right. It pertains to all levels of education. So like we talked about fourth K through 12, it also goes to college and even to graduate schools, that as long as they accept federal funding. So private schools may not have to make these same accommodations. So important to know, important to check. This is something that they are required to do for your college student. And you're going to want to find out, so kind of we were talked about, if your college has a disability resource center or an equivalent. It may not be called that. If you're like, I am looking for this, they'll know what you're talking about and they'll get you in the right direction. Like for Mason, he's going to be at Miracosta Community College, and theirs is called SAS, and it's Student Accessibility Services. That is what theirs is called. And so something else important when you're getting to this step is talk to your healthcare provider.
Doctor, your medical team, your nurses.
Yeah, because they might be really helpful too in helping you guys know, because they're going to know your child, your teen very well.
Yes.
And I think that it is important to talk to them and see what they suggest. And maybe because a lot of these are made like right now, again, Mason is doing well.
Yes.
And
thankfully.
Yes, which is excellent. And we do know things can change. And so we would want to, like, if we're making the plans right now, it would be very different than if he was in a flare.
Yeah.
It would look, so you want to maybe, you want to kind of not predict predict the future.
Hopefully you're not predicting.
It sounds really bad, but you want to be prepared.
Yes.
And so your healthcare provider, because some of you out there have not experienced severe Crohn's disease yet. Some of you, it's been mild. It's been moderate. It's good to talk to your healthcare provider so you can be prepared in case you have a severe flare or have some. So just throwing that out there. The Disability Services Center, they'll have really good advice too, as we found out, but your healthcare provider's good in all of this too. So just point it out. Make sure to make these requests for potential situations. You don't have to use them, but it's important to have them. You're going to just do the best you can.
Yeah, just do anything you can.
Don't stress. Don't be stressful.
So,
So,
like, well, I'm fine right now. Just
right.
if I'm in a flare, I'm gonna make if I will be in a flare, I'll write this down just so I can have it in case I go into a flare. She said it was better to name the things that you wanted before the year starts
Yes.
instead
Okay,
of
good.
yeah.
We'll come back to it because
Okay.
that's very important. That's going to be part of our timelines when we talk to them. So,
Okay.
here are some of the accommodations that the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation recommends. This isn't like one size fits all. Some of these you may not need, but these are all their suggestions. And this is based on IBD, so Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. These are their recommendations. So the first thing is priority enrollment. And that is actually one of the ones Mason did receive. And the reason for that, some of you may not have thought about this, but if you have, you may have a schedule with your medical team. You may have to go in for infusions. There may be certain days you can't go to class. You have to have so what if you're trying to enroll in a class and it's already full and you're like, that is the only one that would have worked. And so now you can't take it. So priority enrollment gets you in first. You have first choice and you get to go for all the classes that you need. It gives you a much better chance at getting what you need. So it just basically allows you to build a schedule that will work with your needs. There's also things like online classes, and those can fill up fast too. And maybe you can only do an online class, which is a great option, by the way, guys. I know some people prefer in person, and this is, that's obviously
opinion or preference.
Right. And the 504 plan will also be different if you're doing online versus in class. So that's important to remember too. Use common sense when we're telling you about these and see what would apply for online versus if you're in class. So anyways, and
your infusions, your injections, your
yeah,
appointments, your flares.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't have.
Right. And note-taking support is another one they recommend. That's where a volunteer will take notes for you when you can't be in class, which is super helpful. Adjusted deadlines, so making reasonable extensions on projects and assignments, which was one of the ones you got.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and he's not going to be using this as like an excuse, like, I'm just always going to do that. That's not what this is. This is for if it is needed. The other one is adjusted attendance. Like, so maybe if you do have to miss class, if you're not feeling well, if things happen, you have an alternative to do something to make up the missed class. So you don't just get counted like your lack of attendance. You're not showing up.
Oh no, I get that count against me for getting an infusion.
Yeah. The next one is exam accommodations. And this is very important. This is what Mason did. And this is where you give you extended time to take an exam. You may need that if you are, for even online, this is important because you might be doing
if you're in person or online.
Because if you're doing a test and you have to run to the bathroom, as all you know, sometimes you'll be in there for quite a long time. And so it gives you more time to complete it. Another option is stopping the clock for, and then when you come back, it starts you from a point where like you never left. So you're not docked that time. So that's the other option too, if you have to step out. And you can also reschedule an exam. That's another option too. So if the exam is on a day that you have, like, sometimes you have to go to get infusions, like they get you in a different day, something happens. So that kind of thing. So those are very important. I think those are.
Ago when we were planning that it was on Friday. I think that we weren't gonna do anything. We're just gonna do school, and they're like, a doctor wants you to go into the infusion center right now.
Yeah.
So he can get his infusion.
Yeah.
And I was like,
we like packed all the school stuff, put it back, and then we had to like run and get ready. And it was like, oh my gosh, let's get ready.
It's like knowing you have to go to the infusion on a day is like, okay, you know what, you're playing around the day, you know what you're gonna do. Yeah. And then they're like, but you don't expect anything on this day, and they're like, you have to get an infusion. You're like,
yeah.
And nowhere.
For us, it's like it's at least half a day because you have about a 45-minute, sometimes depending on San Diego traffic, can be like an hour, and then that's on the drive home. So you have a couple hours into the drive and then a couple hours there. So
and then after that you might have a headache or you might feel tired. Right.
Sometimes that does happen. You get pre-meds too. They give you Benadryl. So a lot of times for him, he is zonked out. He's he's like just tired. So anyways, these are all things to consider. Yes. And something else, so kind of we were talking about is your housing. You might be able to request a certain type of room. You might want to request your own bathroom if they can accommodate that. You might want a single room without roommates. And I mean, I think that would be ideal. I would hope that all the colleges have that option. I don't know if they do,
It's
but
like a
I
hotel where
would,
you can get luxurious rooms
yeah,
just
their
unto
kids are like,
yourself.
hey, wait a minute.
Wait, what?
But it would be,
That'd be a massive
I can
college.
see why. And especially if you're immunosuppressed. I mean, I know you're already at college, but like if your roommate is sick or something, at least if you have your own room, you don't have to stress about those kind of things too, and getting sick and missing your
I didn't think about
infusions.
that. That'd be bad.
Yeah, it would. And and another thing someone had mentioned is something like having your own fridge. And so you have that convenience, or access to a bathroom with a tub.
Yes.
So these are things to all consider.
Also, the fridge would be helpful for like maybe like a gluten intolerance with Crohn's disease or something. Like there's a certain kind of food you can't have. You have something in your fridge and the other your roommate has, and but something with that on it, it might get contaminated or something, and that
Yeah,
wouldn't be good.
actually, and that leads into our next one. That was a good lead into
Oh,
that. So that's like sometimes you can try to request like a special pantry where you can keep your
food.
own food because there are cross-contamination risks. So depending on what that is, if you can request a room with a kitchen, I don't know if that's an option in many places. I really don't know
That'd
what
be
the
cool.
reality of that is, but that's there. So that is something to ask about. Or maybe there is a special kitchen that only certain students have access to. Maybe students that have these requirements and have to be very careful with how things are cooked or what it's cooked with. Discuss, like we mentioned earlier, discuss meal plans or specialty prepared food from campus dining services for particular diets, see what they have. And I mean, some of you will be doing takeout, but it's important to eat healthy and it's important to make sure you're getting the right nutrition. You don't want to, you guys already have issues with malnutrition and things like that. So it's so
We
important.
need to help that problem.
Yeah, just super important to make sure you're eating
Cause that
right.
problem.
When you have IBD,
That is actually a problem.
yeah, it really is. And the other thing that they mentioned to request as well is if you have mobility issues, that could be things like fatigue, joint pain, or just other issues related to your IBD. And that might be a challenge for you to get, to and from your classes from your dorm. And so if you need these things, it's important to request some kind of mobility accommodations and see what they have. So that's just a few things that you might want to put into your, 504 plan or whatever they call it. I don't think we were calling it a 504 plan when we were talking to our counselor, but when they give you the form, it mentions the 504 plan. So these are all things and ideas for you guys to include and to think about. So I hope that was helpful. And so now let's talk about more about, applying for this and how that process looks and talking to your professors. This is an important one too. And because it's going to be a little different than K through 12. And so most schools, like we've talked about, are going to have an office like a disability resource center or center for accessible education. Like I mentioned, the SAS was ours from Costa. So very likely to enroll, there will be like an intake, there will be like a form, which is what you can just go online for ours. This is not for all colleges. I'm going to tell you what we did here. Yes. But for our process, it was a form I sent in online and then they looked through everything and then they told me to go ahead and call in to make an appointment with a counselor. And so
this went well.
Yes, it did. And so, but with that intake appointment, one of the things I needed first before we even met with the counselor was we had to submit the requested documentation. And so for most of you, you're going to be asked to provide documentation confirming your diagnosis of IBD, which is fair.
You can get that from your doctor.
Yes, you can get that from your doctor. Yes, we had it right in our MyChart. So I was able to take a copy of it and send it over to this SAS center. And they were very kind and went ahead and took care of that quickly so we can meet with the counselor. And that counselor would have a copy already on her desk when we had the appointment. We set up the appointment and she asked Mason some questions. She was asking
what I need, what happens in a flare, what can cause a flare, what are like effects of a flare,
and how long.
Yeah, how long can one last? Yeah. Because she was like, how long does a flare last? And I'm like, it can last like almost 2 months.
Yeah, you're like,
she was like,
sometimes. Yeah,
she was like, I thought it only lasted a day.
It's like, okay, so I was thinking, so it really helped her so she could know what to advise us because she's going to know that college best, just like your advisor, your counselor is going to know the college. And so she was a wealth of information, very helpful, and it was a great meeting. And she even helped us with other things in the future too, and looking into. And so that was a great start. Once you meet with them, it'll feel a lot more okay. This I was able to relax. I think you probably relaxed a little bit. And once she was done speaking with Mason, she went over basically all the accommodations. And when we are like, yeah, that's good. All sounds good. And they put it into a formal like letter and documentation. And when Mason enrolled in his classes, we were able to request a copy of the letter. And that letter will be given to Mason. So, I'm helping him more because he's still younger. This is all new, but again, pretty soon this will be it's his responsibility, and just like it'll be your college
It's
student.
my college, it's my responsibility.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility. And so what you guys will want to make sure that your teen knows is that, if it's like at our college, they're required to provide the letter to the professor. The school does not give it to the professor. So like it's not the same like as K through 12. So Mason would request the letter and then he can give it to his professor and let his professor know, like our school, like the counselor said, that communication is extremely important. And you keep that open with the professor and let them know, what's going on, and they'll, be more willing to work with you. So what does she tell you to do?
Don't be a number, be a person.
Yes.
And what that means is like never talk to your professor.
You're just a
be a number.
Student in the class.
And they're not going to pay much attention to you, and they're probably not going to care as much. But if you constantly talk to them and help them understand
within reason, guys.
Within reason.
Like don't
Hello,
harass
hello,
them.
How are you? Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Like that out.
But make yourself a person.
Yeah.
Like something. And I thought that was really important to know. And that is something that the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation also agreed with, is that it's very important to, do things like schedule a one-on-one with the professor if you want to. When you do that, bring your letter, have it ready with you, or email the letter. Then throughout the semester, continue to stay in touch and help them understand your situation. If things change, let them know. And that way they can feel like you're staying proactive, right? They're going to be like, okay, this person, he wants me to know what's going on. And that makes them feel like, well, you're still trying.
If you don't help them with what you have,
yeah, they're not
about what you have, they're not going to know.
No, and they may just assume you're just slacking off and not doing your work. So they're going to be happy to know that you're trying and you're making that effort, and they can stay up to date on what's going on, what's going on with you.
Oh, I'm in a flare now.
Yeah, it's important to.
Well, I'm in a flare now.
Yeah. So, so one of the things like Mason had mentioned earlier, which is really important, is the timing of all of this. So you're going to want to discuss with your school the continuity of this. For some schools, once you do this and you register basically and get the disability services, you're good to go. That's it. Other schools, like the one we're at, this college, they require it every semester. And so basically, you don't have to go through the interview process. You've been through that, but you do have to resubmit to get a new letter for the professors for the new semester. So you don't just get one and that's it. So it's important for you guys to know this, because your student, or your teen is going to, once they're at college, they're going to have to remember to do that. That's going to be their responsibility. So make sure you find out, how soon in advance you guys will need to speak with a counselor, and also because it's maybe to make changes. That was the other thing she mentioned. Sometimes, like as Mason goes through this semester, something might not have worked well for him. He may have found like, I really needed this accommodation actually, and I didn't have it. Then you can meet with them, have it added for the next semester, so you can change it. So these are always fluid. If something's not working out for you and you feel like, you needed different accommodations,
you can change it.
Just reach back out to your counselor. So that is yeah, Mason had a good point. It's very important to make sure you know what is required, so you have it all done in time and you're not worrying about that. No stress. No stress. That's what we don't want. Matters. Yeah. So important to keep this as it's smooth rolling as possible, stress free. So what we're gonna Yeah, it's just college. That's it. Just college. It's fine.
Just.
Yeah. So we're going to include there's sample letters like templates if you need them. And there's a bunch of other good information at this link as well. So we're going to just include that at the bottom of the podcast so you guys can check that out. And if there's anything you need that would help you better, it'll be on there. We'll also include a link to this whole section on the Crohn's and Colitis page. But yeah, but for us, it was a real easy process, at least at our college. And
yes.
and we'll see how it goes.
Fun.
That's the next
that part of college was fun.
Yeah, that part.
Let's see if the rest of it is fun.
The counselor was super nice. Hopefully your professor is just as kind. So yeah,
the classes are nice.
Yeah, we're gonna, it'll be an adventure. And the cool part for Mason is that if this all does work out and everything goes well, he's actually going to be graduating a year earlier than planned. So he was already graduating a year early. He's in 10th grade right now. But he would have been in 9th grade. So because of, what we've been able to do through homeschooling with the academy and the amount of classes he's taken, and he's been able to he's a year ahead. Now with this, we're going to be another year ahead.
So I'll be in next year if everything goes well.
Yeah. So if everything goes well, we're doing his college courses, he's getting credit, he'll be able to graduate earlier and then apply what he's taken towards the start of his college degree. So cool. That's pretty exciting. So we'll see. I mean, it's not the cool part is the graduating early thing isn't like necessary. So
if something does happen, I have 2 years to spare.
That's the thing. It's like I think I always feel like for you,
I don't have to use that, but
yeah,
if something does happen, we do have a cushion.
Because I think I've always felt like that with you is like having that space so you could have time in case you were hospitalized or you got sick, that you wouldn't fall behind. So it was always like keep him ahead. So if he fell back, it would just be in line with where he's supposed to be. So that's always been a good feeling having that buffer. And so now here we are, and
now we're 2 years
ahead. Yeah, he might be 2 years. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully. And that'd be really cool if it works out. And if it doesn't, then you're a year ahead still, which is
still good.
So I'm not going to complain about that at all. So either way, it's a win-win. And so we hopefully today this information has helped you guys. We'll leave the links, and good luck to all of your kids and teens that are going to be heading off to college and making these decisions. And I know from a caregiving standpoint and a parent standpoint, I'm still going to be part of the team and helping Mason as long as he wants that. And so we're going to be here for the ride too. I know a lot of you parents are as well. You're probably very involved in helping them in this process. So I think it's important for everybody. Yes. So anyways, with that, guys, you guys can follow us on Team IB Determined on Instagram and the Reggie Project. You can submit your pictures to the Reggie Project and we will share your stories and try to get other people to just see people living their lives with IBD and other challenges as well. And
for everyone.
Yeah. And so also you guys can listen, which you probably are already listening, but some of you might be watching. But if you prefer to listen, you can on stations like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts.
Buzzsprout has a link to all of those.
Yes, it does. Buzzsprout does. So we'll put our link there because there's many more stations. Those are the main ones that I know people are familiar with, but there's plenty of places to listen. So we'll include that link. And because one of those places now is YouTube.
It's YouTube added podcast. And if you do want to watch us and hear us, you can go to YouTube videos. And if you are already watching us, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified every time we post a video, make sure to hit that bell icon.
Yeah.
And that way you leave a comment if you want. Maybe you can say how you found our channel. What you relate with, how long you stuck with us watching us. If you're in college, what you think is a good idea with what we said, maybe something you learned from it. If you just want to say hi.
Yeah.
If you're in school,
let us know.
Yeah.
It would be cool to hear.
Say anything as long as it's positive.
Yeah. We're not into like the whole negative situations going on.
Unless it's a story about like a flare or something.
Right. That's okay. But
not being mean to others.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main thing. So with that, guys, you guys have a great rest of your day and
semester.
Yeah. And thanks for tuning in. And hopefully this helped you guys. So you guys will have a successful start to college. Yes. So, all right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week.
On the next episode.
Bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to apply something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.